Hello, everyone. Good evening. I hope you guys are excited for today's session and especially to meet our industry experts. Before going directly to this session, I'll introduce myself, speakers, and set up the agenda and the context of the whole session. During this session, if you have any queries, feel free to drop it into the comment section. We'll take it up directly either in between the session or at the end during the Q&A. We have received a lot of queries on Twitter also. So eventually we'll be taking them up together or individually depending upon the question. Coming to the context of this session, what is this session all about, and why are we doing this? So, uh, we all know, and especially you guys who were part of our community before, that we have organized robotic process automation developer camp multiple times, and we have helped our community experts have helped a lot of students start their journey in the world of RP. Now you know what RPA is. You've started your journey, you started learning about RPA. But the most important question is how you're gonna get job. In every session you've heard that there are n number of jobs and number of domains, subdomains in RPA itself, right? And so we decided to do this panel discussion to explain more about the career prospects in RPA and related domain, the scale of current RPA industry, applications of RPA in various domains, the future of RPA industry, how can you get a job, what's the industry point of view regarding the jobs and students in the domain of RPA, how the employment opportunities are, what's the importance of community contribution. And to discuss these points and give you a brief idea about what RPA has in it, in the bucket for you in terms of career opportunities, we have our esteemed panel here. I'll start with Mr. Tanmay Haljar, Senior Director at Digital Transformation at Protivity. We have Anuka Roy Chaudhary, HR Lead at Fundaburns, and Mukesh Kala. You must have previously attended few sessions of Mukesh in RPDC, who has been nominated Uipath MVP 2022, RPA developer at NatWest Group. So without wasting time, let me just bring up all our speakers to the panel. We have Anuka, Tanmay, Mukesh. Hi everyone. Hi. How are you?
Hey, hi Anuj. Hi. It's
Hi.
good. Good to.
Hello.
Great. I hope you guys are excited to answer the questions of our community and see how everything goes.
Definitely, yes.
Great. Before moving forward, I really want to start with one of the most basic question that what career prospects is in the automation domain, not just specifying RPA, but in the automation and related domains, and what do you think are the opportunities? Like, let's start with this question, which will set up context to the title of the session itself, and then we'll move on to the question which we received from the community. So, anyone, Tanmay, Mukesh, Anuka, who would like to take this question up first?
Yeah. I can take this question, Anuj. So basically, you are looking for what is the career prospect, right?
Yeah.
In this RP, right?
Hmm.
Look. Thanks for having me. A little bit of introduction, me and my organization, right? You have already mentioned that I lead this practice in productivity. We call it IPA, Intelligent Process Automation. Uh, Anybody who don't know, Protivity is one of the leading global consulting organizations, having spread across 25 plus countries and 85 plus offices. Now, coming back to RPA, so I was the one of the founding member for RPA in Protivity back in 2015 when RPA was in very initial stage, and Uipath was probably one of the just name came to India, founding their offices, not even offices in Mumbai. So I can tell my experience, how I saw, which was a kind of concept to a matured platform. So right now, anybody and everybody, maybe Mukesh or Unuka or whoever, right? So you all agree with me. Uipath or any other RPA platform. It's not a tool anymore. It has evolved from a basic tool to a platform, right? And in that process, it has created a market for everybody at the senior level, somebody who is starting his career, who is want to transit his career from other field, right? Only just if you look at the market size on the numbers, in this year, RPA is supposed to cover at least 2 billion USD globally as a market. And by 2030, it should reach around 30 billion of the market, right? And if you look at the revenue of TCS, it's a 25 billion, right? And they employ close to 6 lakhs. So just if you go by the numbers, at least it has a potential to bring 6 lakhs talent into the ecosystems at each of the domain. And probably we'll go in detail which all other roles you can cover. So RPA, which was a kind of very initial word, I think it has evolved himself. Not anymore is a buzzword. It's already, and as a everyday uh, that I can feel to my clients, to my colleagues and everybody. Yeah.
Correct. So I just wanted to add with Tanmay. Me as an HR, right, when I look at the prospects of RPA, so we termed it as red hot job vacancy. So RPA is actually one of those job. So in currently in the IT industry, RP is booming at a very higher pace. Way back in 2020, like 2000s when it started, RPA was just a word, and then it eventually evolved in 2014, and we started our Wonderbots. Like when I started in 2019 as an RPA. Okay, so it evolved like anything. In 2020, after pandemic, it boomed at a very high pace, as I said. Literally, if you do a search in a Google as RPA jobs, you would see 4 million jobs currently in India. India as this highest IT hub currently, where a lot of countries like TCS has 6 lakh above. So it has a scale of where the demand and supply is increasing at both at equal rate. So right now the demand of RPA has gone at a very high scale, and the supply is actually less if you look at the data. Like Gardner, the research firm of 2000, they say that by 2025, it will increase the job of an RPA by 140 millions. That is the scale it's going. And right now, the demand of RPA is quite high, and the supply of the talent pool is low in the Indian market. So we are at a right forum where we try to get more talents pool here. So yes, RP is booming at a very high scale. So Mukesh wanted to add something.
Yes, so you and Tanmay have already covered just some points from my side. So as you have already, so the report which Anuka was talking, that was the future of work report that happened in 2018, and it estimates that 150, around close to 140 million of jobs are emerging in the field of RPA, right? Now, when I say RPA, it is not only restricted to the developers. There are n number of other jobs which RPA brings, right? It is not only developing the robots. As an HR, Tanmay, Anuka, you might agree with me that there are other prospects also in RPA which it is creating the jobs, right? So the market is huge. You have stepped on the right field. It is just like to take the next step in RPA.
I
Back to
guess
you, Anuj.
Hack to Skill is working with the vision to fill that gap between the
Definitely.
job requirements and
Definitely, yes.
developers. Great. So, like I had one question, continuing the previous one, but eventually you guys have already answered. The job prospects or the point of view of job from specifically to the Indian market. So I I thought you guys are covering as in whole world, but now my question is the situation same in other countries? Or is it just for the India that the requirement is very high but the supply is very low? Is it the same in other countries or just in India?
Uh, Like, then we want to add, or
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, I
should
can.
go ahead?
No, no,
Yeah.
it's the same, right? As
Yeah.
Anuka said, right? Definitely, the supply is much more less than the demand you have, right? And specifically, I can tell you, India is going to be the hub for RPA. As productivity, as I operate for mostly all the market globally, be it US, Europe, or APAC, right? Or Middle East, you have at least 10 times more demand than you have the supply. It's not only restricted to only to one tool. Yeah. So eventually, what will happen, the way the cloud has evolved, right? You will have this multi RPA tool coexisting in any of the clients. So uh, 7 or 8 years back, right? Cloud was an idea. So if you put this in a cloud, so nobody was able to kind of embracing this cloud. Now today everything is cloud first, right? So that's the same with the RPA. It's not only in India, not on any specific country. It's across the global. So you have less number of developers compared to the requirement. And as Mukesh said, it's not only the developers; it's creating a entire, I should say, community across business analyst, your solution architect,
Mhm.
tech lead, functional lead, and even support. Uh, 3 years back, when you delivered or developed this RPA, definitely it creating a lot of uh, down downstream requirement also. So whichever you have developed, you have also requirement for the support. So RPA is here. I could see probably it will move to the next level. As I said, it's not even in RPA. Nobody talks about it's IPA, right?
Hmm.
So already we are 3 or 4 years behind that we are discussing. So
Mhm.
the requirement is everywhere, not in India.
Yeah, just to add to that one, so we do a lot of US hiring as well. So across globally, the talent pool is less compared to the demand what brings us. In India, it implemented a way little, so US it started, and India it started a little late, but India is going to be literally a big firm hub for RPA very soon, that is for sure. Because there are two reasons. The first is we have a young talent pool in India. Literally, we have a very large young talent pool, so that will again increases the job rate demand. And plus, countries of outside are really would love to invest in India because of the cost saving as well. So that is the other way to put it. As so definitely it's going to be at a very high demand. So people who are looking for an RPA or want to start a career, I guess you're at the right place. Anuj, you're mute.
Sorry, happens a lot these days. So, coming back, we were talking about the subdomains, right? Solution architect, business analyst. So, there is a very common term in low code, no code technology, right? Citizen developers. So, now when we used to do RPA DC, and not just RPA DC, wherever I used to go as a speaker and talk about RPA and the upcoming technologies. Eventually, people used to ask me that what's the difference between citizen developer and a normal developer, and why there's a need of citizen developer. So, if anyone who could shed some light on the citizen developer, the difference, and how is it different from the normal developer, and I guess the pros and cons of it.
Okay, I'll take that question first, maybe. Okay, so when you say a citizen developer is a person who is very much close to business. He understand overall thing. Now I want to automate something, but I do not have the coding skills, right? When I say coding skill, RPA itself is a low code, right? RPA, Uipath Studio, you would have seen it's just a drag and drop. Sometimes there are places where you have to write some a little bit of knowledge of, let's say, loops and variables and arguments where you require a little bit, but not much. But when it comes to Studio X, it is directly integrated to your Outlook. So Studio X would be used by the person who want to directly automate the task but do not want to do even the smaller bit. For example, Today, Anuj decides to read all his email and download all the attachments. So Anuj can directly go to Studio X, which is an absolutely low code. Click, it will ask me, tell me which mailbox. Anuj will select inbox. Then it will ask which all emails. Anuj will ask all the email from Mukesh Kala. Now, where to store? You will say, I want to store in D colon data. Hit save. Your job is done. That is an absolute low code which Studio X provide, right? But if you want to build, let's say, kind of a build of more robust solution, such as which is having a lot of transaction, a process which is for a bank, then you would go to something which is called Uipath Studio. You would build in RE framework, you would require queues knowledge and all. But if you want to do all these tasks, then it comes to the Studio X front. So I hope that
Correct.
answers.
Correct. Correct.
So
Uh,
Yeah, Tanmay
yeah,
was
yeah.
saying
So
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So just to add what Mukesh said, right? So one of the reasons that why this RPA was hit, if I could say so, in the industry, right? Because if you look at the function that first embraced RPA was the finance team in any of the industry. So if you look at any of the organization who has successfully implemented in RPA, it was the CFO's organization, Chief Financial Officer, right? And those are not the techies, right? So they are good as their functional skill, but not necessarily uh, they are good at uh, the technology. So now that create this concept of citizen developer, where you can develop bot, not necessarily you part of your IT organizations. So traditionally, if you look at any of these developers or any of they would be either from your IT team, right? But in case of RPA, not necessarily it has to from the IT team. It can be anyone. It could be from HR, it could be from sales team, it could be from finance, anybody and everybody who is interested to create this kind of bot, considering that it requires very low level of this coding expertise. You can create this bot. So that's the concept of citizen developer. So if you go ahead to all these big organization, they are promoting this concept of the citizen developers. So they are asking their employees that, okay, you build your own bot, right? That's Mukesh said, small use case, but which is a very repetitive mundane job, right? That is a very boring and frustrated kind of activity. Let's say a sales guy, he just wanted to create a small bot to for your his sales promotion activity. How many clients he visited, right? It not necessarily required to create a very complex bot. He can create his own bot. One finance guy, he just want to create some tableau, and it only requires some kind of refreshment, right? He can create that bot. So essentially, you are empowering each of the employees within your organizations. Not necessarily they come from a tech background, create their own bot. So this is the concept of citizen developer. Now you are stretching that one to outside your organization also. So uh, anybody and everybody, right? So if you look at the one of the leading organization who told that, okay, bot for everybody, right? That, okay, each of the employee will have their own bot. So that's nothing but the citizen developer.
So,
correct. Correct. Just to
from getting, yeah, I have a direct question to you, Anuka. The next one, I
yes.
guess you can add into that. So, we know what a normal developer is and what's the difference between citizen developer. Now, from hiring point of view, from an HR point of view, how do you think is the job opportunities for citizen developers and RP developers in an industry, or in a corporate company eventually which has an RPA as a full domain? Wonderbot eventually works around RPA, but companies like TCS has a specific domain for RPA. So, what do you think is the requirement of citizen developer, and which one should students pursue? If they have technology, should they go for citizen or not? So, yeah,
Okay. So
over to you.
first of all, a person, people who are freshers, pass out, or there are two ways. Like some would be interested in coding, the other would not be. as I said. So there are different two ways of it. A person who is not a good coder can go for a citizen developer. But I, as an HR, if I look at it, the demand of low code, no code is again booming, similar way the RPA is. So a lot of business process, specifically business users, a person who understand the business. For example, if I take an example of an HR, right? So I pursue that course of a citizen developer. I can automate it. I myself has automated few things as well. So in that term, if I take a course of citizen developer, I can automate those processes in a very simple automation. For example, a simple Excel. There are so many attrition reports we have to make, right? Simple Word documents, simple Outlook in your day-to-day life. So that citizen developer course actually helps, and Uipath has a beautiful course articulated in 16 hours, which is again they covered lot of modules in that. So that actually helps you not as easily accessible to the technical person, but who all are non-technical like me, right? That also helps you when you talk about the demand of the job. So right now 29% of here in India are using low code no code platforms, and citizens, they look for citizen developers because, as Tanmay said, let's say take example of sales, let's say take example of accounts, or let's take an example of the HRs, right? It's very important that you create an impact towards in business also. So if I as an HR take that pursue, or I as a salesperson take that courses or understand it, so for me, because I understand the HR whole process, so for me to understand the end user and what would be the benefit, it will be more relevant, right? So freshers who are interested in citizen, they also, because there is lot of vast opportunity. So company is looking for two ways in it, as an RPA is bringing lot of other jobs. So one is also citizen developer, and the rate scale of citizen developer is going to grow by 2024 by 60%. So it is a course which you are going to take in Uipath. It's definitely going to help you in future. And again, it's an add-on thing for you. If you wear multiple hats, your market value increases. So so since this target audience are more of a freshers, like you can use right from the day you are attending this session, because you're doing lot of assignments, you're doing lot of dissertations. You can start implementing right from the day you have completed your citizen developer, which will give in good hands on to automate the simple task and automation. Because I remember when I was in college, to writing down hours of word document and putting it down, it was such a difficult task. But today generation have those opportunities, so they should gauge that and use these courses, and that will help you in your own individual also, and in your career also.
So, guys, as Anuka mentioned, that there are n number of courses which you can have a look at the academy. So, I'm not sure how many of you have gone through the academy. UiPath Academy is basically an RPS school by UiPath. In a layman language, it's an RPS school for RPA by UiPath. The link is flicking in front of you. You can have a look at it. I'll ask my team to drop it into the comment section. Now, moving on towards the next question, uh, I would request any one of you to shed some light on the different domains like RPA developer, solution architect, RPA project manager, business analyst. I know four to five. So, uh, how to differentiate and finalize the domain which you want to use. For instance, I start my journey in RPA, right? How should I finalize? Like, should I go ahead with RPA analyst? Should I be a developer? Should I be a citizen developer? Or should I be a solution architect? How will you find that right moment? Okay, yeah, I've decided I'm going to be a solution architect now. So how do we do that? Because we've talked about multiple domains, but how to decide on which domain we have to go?
Okay, so maybe I'll take that question first. So basically, it depends on what do you want to do, right? So the question comes that what exactly I want to pursue. For example, if I am a kind of person who is more comfortable in talking to people, I can understand the business. I am very much interested in understanding the business, and how I can derive RP out of it. So that means I can always be a business analyst, right? Who understand the business properly, who understand the mundane repetitive tasks, and who can actually see an automation opportunity and then communicate the same to the developer, to the senior developer. So that is where your role is a business analyst. If you are someone coming from a technical side, right, where you say that okay, I want to play with code, I want to write code, then you are developer, senior developer. You are someone who wants to do and test the quality of a product. You want to test that how the product and maintain its, if it is as per the standards or not. Then you can always be a QA team part, RPA QA, right? You want to someone who want to support the existing application, who want to be on the infrastructure side. So you can be someone who want to take care of the infrastructure management, servers, orchestrator. You can be at the RP infrastructure side. You can be at the support end as an L1 support, L2 support, L3 support. So the question comes back to the guy or the person who wants to be into the RPA field, that what he is more comfortable doing it, right? So over to Tanmay and Anuka.
Yes. So I would go next. So, when we talk about you being as a starter, right, as a fresher, a person who is just recently joined cannot be a solution architect directly, right? So there's always a level. The more experience you have in RPA or any of the field, their level increases step by step. It always start with you being an RPA, like generally industry termed as software engineer or production support or software engineer, or they have different terms. So you step by that. So people generally start a tester to support engineer to a developer. Then if you're really good at communication skills, or the probing way of dealing with the clients, then you become a business analyst. If you really have, like in some organization, again it varies, where they be a developer also and they be a business analyst also, because their communications and their technical skills both are really good. Then they move ahead with, if a person who is very good hands on in business analyst, then they move to a project manager, and then a project manager move to a program manager. If you are really, as Mukesh said, you're a good at technical, then you move from a developer to a technical developer who knows the process in and out, can understand the whole process right from it. A solution architect is someone who would understand and discover the process and have a good logical reasoning to have a good hands on. So a person who's a solution architect should have at least 6 to 7 above experience in it, or have a very good knowledge and understood and gauge that experience and exposure in their role. So that is that role. And delivery, again, manager, that's the highest level which you go, which comes along with your journey after 7 to 8 years plus 10 years. Like Tanva is the right person to give, because he has a lot of years of experience and started, so he can definitely give a lot of insight on this.
No, no, I think you already covered Anuka, right? So RPA is not something new compared to other technologies. So you can't be a solution architect uh, just out of your colleges. So it's the same the way any software developer move in his career, starting off with developer to you move to senior developer, then you become solution architect or tech lead, then you become architect, right? And then you have some experience, business sense, domain expertise, you move to the this business analyst domain. So uh, it's a normal career path. Only you could consider RPA being a technology, right? So a fresher has to be a developer only. For me, who hires every day probably each of the skill. So even I will not consider anybody with less than 8 to 10 years as a solution architect. So solution architect not necessarily will only know the RPA. He needs to know many things beyond RPA. Let's say you need to deploy your RPA in a cloud environment. So I would expect a solution architect to have some expertise on AWS or Azure, right? Let's say it requires to have some understanding of uh, on the database side also. It requires some understanding of how you communicate with other systems. So it's a normal career path, but obviously, as RPA is a very new technology, your career is on a fast track. So maybe within 2 years from RPA, we would move to the senior developer, unlike any other technology, right? Let's say if you're into compared to SAP or let's say other traditional Java, .NET, it will take some years to move to the next level. In RPA, the entire ecosystem is built on last only 4 or 5 years. So your career advancement is much more higher compared to the other technologies. But this architect or technology, it will require some experience. So yeah, it will require at least you deliver 8 to 10 projects of different nature, right? So yeah, I think that's all, Anuj.
Okay. So I met a couple of people a few days back, and we were eventually talking about RPA, and they had no idea what RPA is. So there was a question which I decided, okay, I'm gonna ask this question in this session to all of you. So right now, when we talk about TCS, Infosys, any of the companies which has been in the market for a long time, we know what does that company do. We know the tech stack the company is working on. Like we know the requirements of TCS, we know the requirements of Infosys, right? You need to learn these things. We know that from first year. So now when starting a journey, in RPA, I know that we are going to build bots. But when a fresher is thinking to start his journey with RPA, he must be confused, right? Okay, I know about RPA and I know that we have to build bots. But what kind of automations are we gonna do? What kind of bot we are gonna build? The applications or the use case. So you guys have been in industry for a long time, especially Tanmay here. So it will be great if you could share some experiences, that what kind of automation you have done, on a higher level, complex level, on a base level, so the students and the developers which we have can understand. What does your company do? We have three different people from three different companies with three different experience levels, right? So if all three of you could spend like 2 to 5 minutes, talking about your experience, the kind of bots which you have built, exception to Anuka, what kind of people you have hired, like you can focus more on that. Tanmay, same goes for you. Like if you could start. And guys, we are gonna take all these questions in the end during the Q&A. We have received around like 10 odd questions and a lot on Twitter. We're gonna take those at the end, so feel free to drop them. And over to Mukesh, Tanmay, Anuka. Anyone can go ahead.
Yeah. So because yeah, just I'm taking the advantage of being maybe more senior to Mukesh and Anuka, right? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So as I said, like the first function that considered the RPA in the industry was the finance function in any of the organization. Even today, while I speak with my clients, it would be either this CFO community, right? So the first use cases that any of the organization that automated was on the this we call it AP process automation. So like account payable, right? It could be either automating their invoice processing. It could we call it like P2P, O2C, R2R. That could be some little bit of new to this college pass out, but these are very common terms within this finance domain. So you have n number of use cases within finance that they first automated, right? Then there are some use cases on the we call it bank reconciliation. Within again on the finance domain, right? But I would say very interesting use cases even within the HR, where as I said, RPA is a dead now. If you go to the market, we don't talk about RPA. It's the IPA, intelligent process automation, right? It's RPA plus AI plus process mining today. So one of the very interesting use case that as an organization we recently automated, and that is for the HR function when how you uh, get your resume from different candidates. So this was for one of the largest chemical company in the world, the probably the largest chemical company, right? And whenever they require their resume for a certain skill set, and this require very specific kind of expertise, So they will get n number of resumes, and obviously not necessarily the all those resume will match to the requirements, right? So they will spend times to find the accuracy of those resume. So what they wanted to automate this process. So the use case would be that you get the resume, right? And you have the JD. The JD could be in anywhere. So for this case, it was on the SAP. Your bot will extract the relevant data from this resume based on your experience, based on your education, based on your uh, other n number of factors, right? Specifically, let's say we call it taxonomy, different taxonomy. Mukesh must be knowing that one. Now, based on that one, it will create a fitment scoring, right? That okay, let's say Tanmay has applied for this particular role. How, what is my accuracy or my level of fitment to this particular role with a certain parameters, right? And then it will give to their HR. Even if you receive this 100 or resumes, maybe let's say only 20 resumes you can consider to the next level. Now, that what was the challenge? The challenge was, right, everybody, like I follow my own way of own template of resume, right? If you on OG you apply, you will have your own resume. You, we don't follow the same template, right? Anybody, it's a free flowing kind of template, free flowing kind of resume. And from there, getting this data from an unstructured kind of this resume, and then mapping with the relevant skill set, right? It's not easy. So it requires your RPA, and in this case, we use this UiPath and UiPath document understanding, AI fabric, and everything. Right? You created the model. So it's a combination of both your RPA or your AI, your document understanding, right? So Anuj, to answer your question, right? The use case is not now only limited to any particular function. If you can ask me any function, be it finance, HR, sales, IT, your operations, right? Even the this medium that we are operating out of, right? We have automated this for the media company, one of the largest media company in India. They call it this automation called the RO automation. Like whichever ad you bring to your media, right? It called the release order. You get it from the this marketing agencies, and then how you enter this data into your broadcast system. So each of the function you can today consider. It's now RPA has become a kind of domain agnostic, if I could tell. But obviously, uh, till today, I would say 40% would be cases would be on the finance function itself, right? And then followed by could be your IT or your HR or your sales and marketing, or in some cases operations also.
Thanks, Tana, for explaining it in detail. Before moving forward, we have a very important question in the comment section. Is there any opening in Wonderbots? Anuka, that's for you.
Yes, we definitely have a lot of opening. Okay, but just go to the job board and post it. And if you want to reach out on LinkedIn, do reach out on LinkedIn. I would be happy to understand first your role and what are the use cases you have done, because this in the freshers, or if somebody is experienced, we definitely talked about what kind of use cases you have done. And Tanmay was correct that majorly is into finance and accounting. But just to add, recently when we attended the RPA hackathon recently, so there's this people were freshers, and they actually created a use case with IoT, and it was a really good use case, and he tried to get the measure of agriculture. So it was a very beautiful use case which he has done. So it is so much upgraded now, which is called it as hyper automation. Right now it's IoT and RPA are again, those combinations are again coming up a lot with it. So just wanted to add, yeah, finance and accounting is high, but HR is the second. Our job can be at a risk, but we are moving to HR tech. But in other terms, different other fields are also not only it's limiting, but manufacturing and all are started implementing RPS and use cases. Just wanted to add that. And yeah, job is there for wonderbots.
So why this question was important? Because it's necessary to fill the gap between the requirement, right? Demand and supply.
Please
So
mention your
we,
use cases.
I guess during the session, like at the end, I'll share the LinkedIn of all three speakers. You guys can connect, send an invite, and ping again and again for jobs and internships. Moving on to Mukesh, what about your experiences? What kind of use case we have built? I know you have a lot to share, but let's try to keep it to the minimum.
Yes, yes, yes. So I will try to keep it simple. So as Tanmay told, right? So I have a primary experience. Majority of my experience come from financial and banking firms, where most of the processes which we do are the recon processes, reconciliation. I have a source data, I have a destination data. You want to compare it and generate a report. Somebody is doing it manually. You create a bot, and now the bot is doing. The other set of use cases which I have seen is the kind of a software installation or the IT jobs, where let's say a new employee is joining, just to give a simple example, and you have to install 50, 60 software on a new laptop. You do not want a single person to sit in front of the laptop and let him install all the software, do the next, right? Kind of IT thing. And the other one was kind of a chatbot, which just you create some kind of a chatbot, you create some kind of interface, which is RPA plus and technology. It may be a Google Dialogflow, it may be anything, kind of a simple chatbot. Hey, where can I find my ID card? Go to this place, find your ID card. Where do I return my books? Where can I find the library? How do I raise a request for the laptop? Right? So these are the use cases which I have seen being implemented.
That sounds, interesting, and I'm pretty shocked that you summed it up in like 2 minutes because I have attended your previous session, so that's really astonishing for me. So I have one question that's for all because you are part of the community, especially Mukesh because he is working, as a community contributor. But before taking that as a last question, I'm gonna take few instant questions from the community from the comment section. Can RPS survive if the IT industry saturates in India? I'm not sure if the question is clear or
Yes,
if
yes.
it's missing some context here. Okay, next we have we have pretty basic questions here. That can you tell us any website for RPI internships? I guess Anuka can share the ways of getting internships. Mukesh can share the points like how community can help you getting internship, and then by being the senior, I guess he can do the both.
Okay, so for the internship, right? Recently, the first thing I would request for all the fresher is that spend most of the time in the LinkedIn, following the people who are doing work in RPA. It may be the RPA recruiter, it may be the RPA managers, developers. Now you would see that I have personally seen a couple of fresher. I would say not a couple of many more fresher getting into the IT world by attending the hackathon. So there are a lot of hackathon which the companies are doing, and at the end the winners are getting the internships also. I have seen freshers posting their content in the form of videos, in the form of docs, in the form of any material. Now people in your network know that yes, there is a person who understands RPA. He is knowing knowledge of RPA. So whenever he or she has a requirement, they might reach out to you, right? And when you are connected to the people, you definitely know that where are the openings, right? So networking, I would say, is an important bit, and sharing your knowledge, because till the time you don't share, how would anybody know that what you are capable of?
Anuka, you want to add something on this?
Yes. So we do hire a lot of freshers whom we start with the internships and then we move them to a full time. Also, you attend a lot of hackathons, where like recently we did with RPA tools, and Uipath was also sponsored and we were also sponsored. So we have done like 20 we've given 20 folks internship. So make sure that you're active on LinkedIn and you're attending, because from there we actually pick up a lot of good talent pool from there. The whole, so hack to skills, if I see somebody and you have done a lot of use cases and all, we hire a lot of folks from there as well. So make sure you're attending those seminars, those sessions. Be a part proactive and participate in the hackathon specifically. From there you definitely get a good vast opportunity. Like we have recently given a lot of offers of passed out from this May 2020 from that hackathon. So it becomes a good advantage for you, and it actually add on to your career, and you can show it as well. It definitely helps.
Great. Next question I would like to direct to Tanmay, because he is senior director of digital transformation and probably have seen everything grow, from zero to level one in front of him, and the growth of RPA. Will RPA robots in future be able to make decisions using intelligent technologies like machine learning, and how it's working currently? If you could shed some light on that.
Yeah, so that's what I started saying, right? RPA is dead.
Yeah.
So we no more talk about RPA to any of our clients, right? Uh, uh, the use case that I gave you, right?
Hmm.
It was the basic requirement of the machine learning, right? The taxonomy that you create for different kind of this roles or different kind of requirement that you create basically on the certain models, and you can create either on Python, or you can create any other this machine learning tools, right? So the question was whether the RPA can be integrated within the machine learning. The question is yes. Already it's being done, right? Uh, uh, Definitely there would be some human judgment required, and that's already this UiPath or other tools, right? They have already uh, bringing this layer to some kind of human judgment. But beyond that one, RPA is already moving to the next level. Why? Already you have integrated this machine learning uh, embedded with RPA. So either you are creating this within this RPA platform, or creating outside and then integrating through RPA. This is already there. Already there. I can give you like n number of example that's being implemented.
Great. Moving to the next one, we have one from Ankita. Right now, what's the difference between the pay scale of a citizen developer and a normal developer? Everybody wants to know about the money.
uh, okay. It again, right now, if you look at the current 2020, the normal developer rate would be a little higher compared to the citizen developer. Uh, but if you have a both skill set of a citizen developer and a RPA, then it's a good pay scale. So you should now know the difference, that what you have to do in your career, Ankita.
This is a very diplomatic answer. Rather than giving numbers, it's just that ye karoge to
I
you'll
you
get
want
this.
you so if you are a, see again the market standard, if you are a fresher, I don't know whether Ankita you're a fresher or not. So, but I'm assuming you are a fresher. So the number would starts from to 6, 4 to 6 in between. If you are like 1 to 2 experience, right now RP again is booming a lot. So the pay scale is also at a higher rate. So if you are like 2 3 years or something, it would goes with a range of 8 8 9 10 also. So I don't know, Ankita, where you are, but if you are fresher, if you want to know that scale, so it is bracket from 4 to 6.
Uh,
right?
my counter question to this, but it's not limited to 4 to 6, right? For
Yeah, it
instance,
is not limited
if I'm a
for
fresher, I'm in place of Ankita, and I have won 5 hackathons. Many of my balls are running in my institute. I've done freelancing projects. Because this is all about the community, right? So is it gonna be between 4 to 6, or depending upon the skill set, it would increase?
So I said about the star market, but yeah, for example, let's say a person has done certifications again. So you're correct. If you have done hackathon and have won it, we have recently given an offer which is above six. Again, that person is certified into Uipath advanced level, also has done multiple use cases, not limited to, but very good use cases. So we here we do as per the skill sets, but it goes above also. But standard bracket, if you want to go with TCS Infosys, when we talk about, this is the as sure range, to be very honest. But if you join a company like who are mid-size or not limiting to it, like we give freshers like above sometimes, who are like a really good resource and have done multiple certification and multiple use cases
Okay.
by themselves.
Okay, so we have answered this question. Is there any opening in the Wonderbots? We have already done that. Um, how much AI capabilities does UiPath RPA can unlock? Can you give some use case using AI? Mukesh,
I
Tanman.
Yep, I can take that question. So for the AI fabric, right, use
Mm-hmm.
cases are not only limited to the existing one. So UiPath has its own predefined models which are like plug and play. You just take it. Example, sentiment analysis. I have a website, got a lot of feedbacks. I want to know which feedback is good, which feedback is not, how my company is providing. I go to UiPath, use the model absolutely free of cost. I want to do something on the documents, I use UiPath document understanding. So there are n number of models which are available. The complete list is available in uipath.com. But in case you have a specific requirement which is not getting fulfilled, you always has an option to write your own custom models and you can upload the same and run it with UiPath, right? So and in terms of use cases, there is a complete. I can provide you the link, Anuj. You can share it on the description. That what are the
Sure.
AI use cases which UiPath has already done. There is a complete article on that, so I can share it.
So, guys, after this session, I'll ask my team to update with the resources, job board, anything which Tanmanuka and Mukesh, wants me to share. So you guys can have a look at the description. So we have two different questions. I'm gonna club it to the first one. Which programming language we should choose for RPA developer? Is JavaScript necessary for RPA developer? I know we have mentioned more about low code, no code, but eventually this is also a question like if you're gonna go with RPA, should we know coding or which language is preferable? So anyone, Tanmay or Mukesh?
So if as we said, right, it's a low code and no code. But my experience is if you have some experience on .NET, probably that will help you. But otherwise, any of the programming skill with logical mind, right, that will help. But if you are really interested to have some kind of technology, I would say okay, you can go for .NET because the RPA backbone is on .NET only, right? So you can create multiple activity using .NET.
Yes,
But as such, there
absolutely.
is no requirement to have any kind of programming language to start your career.
So one counter question to Anuka on this, not counter question exactly, preceding question. While hiring, so do you just look at the use case which a person has built around RPA, or like do you judge the coding skills also? So is this the RPA or it is the coding skills as well?
Okay. So the other level of hiring which we do, so people who are freshers want to go ahead with the RPA, again they do a lot of certification, but we do a coding test also, which also evolves around the use cases and the skills. We have another strategic way of hiring which we do for .NET also. Tanmay is right. So we do lot of hiring specifically for .NET developers, considering they pick up those skills very easily if you put them anywhere. If you put them in RPA or Citizen, they pick it. So yeah, if you have a .NET in your, because UiPath with a combination of .NET works really good. Any tool you take it, if you have that .NET background, it will definitely help you in any of the RPA tool or any of the low code no code platforms you take. So that is also another add-on which we do for the hiring. We look for programming skills also. But yeah, we have hired a lot of folks who have been, in fact, from a biomedical background. You would be very strange to hear that, but we hired them and they're doing really good in RPA. So again, you don't require particular skills, but something is an add-on is definitely help you for it, because people now, the market is not for one skills. You have to wear
Yeah.
multiple hats to become to that level, and that's how your market would go, right? So it's very important for
So
freshers to know that.
yeah, so I can give you some practical experience, right? So I hired one developers who had mainframe experience, did his postgraduate in data science. He was in my team for last 3 years, and now he's part of UiPath. So if you look at the career transition, right? So not necessarily we need to know the any technology, right? Any of the reasoning skill, logical skill, right? That will help. And as a campus program, 3 4 years back, I hired at least 50 or 100 or maybe more than that, this campus across India. Then through this UiPath or other RPA tool, right? So through certification into the different projects, and not necessarily they are even from that computer science background. Some of them being electrical, electronics, mechanical, production, right? And they now, uh, some of them with productivity, some of them moved, right? And they are one of the finest RPA developers, right? So what I have experienced, one, you need to spend more time on these projects. B, it's a logical reasoning skills, right? Obviously, if you have some expertise on any technology, .NET, JavaScript, that will help, but that's not a mandatory things.
Great. Now I have a counter question to Anuka, not the preceding one, but the counter one. You said that you hire and you have a coding ground, right? Is this coding ground easy in comparison to the companies who hire only on the basis of coding, which requires competitive coding like TCS and Capgemini, or it is just like a test to understand whether the person has the understanding of the concepts of coding. Like, so what kind of test is it about?
Okay, so let me tell you two different ways. When we do recruitment drives, okay, we do a lot of recruitment drives. So the first round always goes for logical reasoning. Now, logical reasoning are like basic logical reasoning of pattern and all, which are like a very standard. That's the first we give, because being an RPA, that skill is necessary at some point of it. Even though you're not a coder, you don't know, at some point you have to put that scripts. So there you have to have those logical reasoning. The second round we do is of group discussion, right, which actually talks about the communication skills, because again, not all can be a developer. Some can be a business analyst, some can be at a different, who can be good at client. Okay, so those are, so we when we do, so for freshers, this is the approach we take: logical reasoning, group discussion, and we take a personal interview, depending upon what they have done in their universities and colleges, because a lot of colleges whom we go, they already are associated with RPA, and they have almost worked in UiPath already. They are ready with UiPath. They know, and actually they have worked on multiple use cases on UiPath. So that is the other person who is an experience. There we give them use cases like going to the website and bootstrap. So there are different use cases which we give, which we have created for our own organization, which we give in the interview. So that's a for the experienced folk we do. Again, a person who is 2 3 experience would not get very tough use cases. We have year wise experience that this should be the mandatory thing that he should able to do it. Okay. And again, whenever we do interviews specifically for developers, we look at their resumes and all, because all the developers would be able to do the basic automation. They should be able to do basic automation. Now you have different complex, it's again RPA and automation is divided into type of it, which is simple automation, mid automation, enterprise automation. So there are different various types of it. So we always give them on the simple and the mid, depend upon the level of experience. So if it's for freshers, then we go this way, because it's we also understand that they cannot do those kind of use cases. So there can be different skill sets which are there, and that's why we do a group discussion and logical reasoning of simple pattern test.
Okay.
And
Uh,
also, just to add, technical skills you can teach someone, behavioral skills you cannot teach someone. So that we know, and we have folks here who are from different background are doing really good in RPA.
yeah, I've heard this line, many times that we can teach someone a skill set, but we hire on the basis of the character or the behavioral skills.
For the yeah.
So, yeah, so I guess we have already exceeded our time, and now I'm gonna ask one last question to all three of you, specifically Mukesh, because he is contributing to the community. How does community contribution helps in the RPA career? Because we have a lot of people, almost all MVPs have their own YouTube channel, different blogs, different use cases. They are speakers, mentors in different initiatives, just like you guys are here. We have, like, by we, I mean Hacker Skill have a pool of around like 20 odd MVPs, including, Anuka, Tanmay, as part of our industry connect, right? So how does it help in the career growth, and does it play a really important role? So now this is the question to Anuka from HR point of view. Like, do you hire people on the basis of the community experience, Tanmay, and Mukesh on the developer side and the transition side?
Okay, so I can take that question first. So for me, when I started, uh, without I was just doing my job as a developer. That means that I do not have exposure of everything. So I am doing work for a company, I only have knowledge which project I'm working, right? When I started contributing, which started with Uipath forum, I am getting n number of questions. So I know that what people are actually facing the difficulties, you try to answer them, you actually go and you broaden up your horizon, that okay, these are the kind of problem which a person may face, and that is how I can do. The second thing, one of the major problem for me was that I was not a very talkative person. I was very not very much confident while talking to camera, while talking to interviews. During my interviews, I used to forget the things. When I started communicating, I got this habit. Now I can actually speak, not very confident, but actually I have improved a lot by attending the sessions, speaking to a lot of people. The other thing which has been benefited to me is that as of now I'm working currently for my present company, and I still get direct opportunities from companies, directly from the hiring managers, directly from the product managers, based on my content which they have seen, maybe in some community event, maybe on the YouTube, maybe somewhere recommendation on the forum, right? And they directly offer, right? So that has worked as a personal at a personal level as well as a professional level for me.
What about Anuka and Tanmay?
No, I agreed, Mukesh. Look, so there are a couple of things, right? When you contribute to the community, you are actually spreading your thoughts, right? Uh, there will be many things that even you don't know, and you are easily getting idea challenges, right? Without even doing this, having the pain, right? So it's easy way to learn, and obviously there is a sense of giving back to your community. Uh, as a hiring, like, manager, if I would say, if you definitely, if you see someone who is contributing to the community, right? That means would be a good team player, right? Because he is doing without his own interest. Yeah, there could be some other soft interest, right? But essentially, you're getting someone, right, who is contributing for others, right? So it's easy for me to hire someone who is contributing to the community. So I would say not necessarily you are getting a only a benefit right now. It's a practice that you are building. As Mukesh said, right? It will give you the forum to improve your skill, to connect with your fellow colleagues within your organization, outside your organization. You could find mentor. You could mentor something, right? So I would definitely encourage, right, at each level, to be part of this community. And end of the day, you are creating a RPA is a new, right? Until and unless you spread this one, right? It's for all of us.
Yeah.
As you create this one, you bring more talent, you bring more job opportunity, right? So it's required. So I would strongly encourage to be part of this community.
Yes. So Uipath community is the largest community when we talk about discussing or lot of activities they do work around like today's as well with hack to skills. So in those as a hiring perspective also it helps us to because we are not only a recruiters, we do a lot of we are technical recruiters. So when we do, we also become a part of those community. We know what are the updated features, what are there. Not only this, but when you are learning specifically for freshers, you have to do your own self learning. So if you want to go to the community, you can find anything. You have any question about whether the errors you talk about, whether you talk about how you want to do it, you can get anything from that community if you're part of it. So that is the biggest, because that when we were there, when we started, we didn't have such forums, we didn't have a very easy accessible thing which is there for current generation. So this definitely helps in terms of your way of learning, and you are creating an impact for the community as well. So that is a both ways, and it also helps to understand things which was earlier not easily accessible, but right now it is easily accessible because of this community forums. So having such sessions and having such community helps anyone who is want to do anything in their career. So yeah, UiPath is one of those sectors which they are doing really great in, and with
So
all the
guys,
videos and different things.
now you have the answer to the question. So contribute to the community, UiPath community, hack to skill community, because HRs like Anuka are keeping a tab on every community and platform. Right. So we'll
We
end
have a
this
eye
session.
on.
Yeah, we have an eye out everywhere. So
Yeah.
I know that we have couple more questions in the chat. Eventually, we'll take that in the chat because we have already reached our time and crossed it, like we are 12 minutes over the time. So thanks a lot, everyone, all the students, developers, the college faculties, TPOs, whoever have joined us today for this session, who have asked this session questions, and who have, uh, you know, been a part of this journey. Thanks a lot, our speakers, panelists, Mukesh, Tanmay, Anuka, for taking out time on this weekend, Saturday, where everybody tend to be, at their home and rest. So thanks a lot for joining, and it was a great session, great discussion. I really liked it. It was really fun, having three different people from three different domain with three different years of experience. Tanmay being the most senior. I don't know who is the junior, Anuka or Mukesh. I did not check out your LinkedIn profiles,
No, no,
but
look, I would say, look, in this world, right, nobody's, it's the skill that matters, right? So RPA itself is only 4 years old, right? It doesn't matter whether you are 20 years or you have 30 years of experience, right? It's like the youngster like Mukesh and others, right? Who
yeah.
who had the experience to one. So gone are the days like you are having 20 years experience, right? For me, it's a relevant experience. Uh, that you have in your particular technology. So uh, Yeah, maybe I am old in this within this community, but again, uh, there is a lot of things like we just started the journey, right, in this particular automation, that I could say, looking at least being lucky to be from the start of this RPA era. But I would say we are just maybe, it's a miles to go, and whoever is starting, you have a great future in your career. So please seriously take this as your career path. Maybe freshers, or maybe whatever you're doing, from other domain to moving to RPA.
Yes,
And
and
thanks
now
thanks
is the yes,
and
Tanmay,
thanks
please.
Anuj for organizing this kind of session. Right, for me it's a new. I do speak a lot of for the mostly in the university student others, but never on this platform. But yeah, thanks for this one.
Yes, it's same from my side. Having so much of experience in front of me, I wish we could have taken it ahead and discussed more. Before ending the session, we are gonna announce the questions, which are the winners of the contest. So we took those questions, formulated it, and we have already answered the questions. Anyone, Mukesh, Tanmay, uh, Anuka, please announce the names of the winners. Anyone can go, or one person can take one name. We can do it in that way.
Okay.
Let's
So
Anuka do
the
the, yeah.
okay. So the first person is Arya. Shreya and Saurabh are the winners of this today's session. Thank you for asking those questions, and I hope Anju is going to give you a goodies and all is on your way
You
as well,
misspelled my
isn't it?
name. It's you not
Anuj.
spelled. You took my name wrong. Anuj. You said Anju. That's not fair.
Okay, so Aryan, Shreya, and Saurabh are the winners. So uh, Anuj is giving you the goodies which are on the way. So make sure you're getting those, right? And
So, guys,
and we are
Aryan, Shreya, and Saurabh, you can reach out to us on Hack to Skills Twitter account, and feel free to share your details. Eventually, our social media team will take care of that. Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining, and have a great evening ahead. Take care. Bye bye.
okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a have.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.